Nicholas Jackson is not the man to replace Alexander Isak at Newcastle United. Now, I feel like me and a lot of other people could have probably told you that, but reports coming out today are that Newcastle have decided he is not the man to go for. And I will talk a little bit about that in this video as well. Other striker targets, as we are just over a day away from the season starting, about 2 days-ish until Newcastle start. But we are ever closer to bringing in a new midfielder. Jacob Ramsey still set to join Newcastle, and we have a new sponsorship deal. That's right. We've talked about it all summer. Why aren't Newcastle getting involved? It's maybe not the big multi-million, billion-pound deal that we wanted, but it's still gone down fairly well online, so we'll talk about that as well. Yes, guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video. I am sat in the car, out and about today, and I thought, you know what, we'll jump on. As reports coming out about Newcastle's striker search, 17 days left of the window. I have to say it's looking more and more likely to me that Isak will stay, despite the continuous noise coming out from Isak himself, presumably Isak's agent, and various media outlets telling us that he will never play for us again. I just think we're going to struggle with 17 days left to go. But we'll start off with our new sponsorship. That's right, Newcastle United themselves have posted today, and I am looking at my phone over here, that Newcastle have announced a new multi-year global partnership with Guinness. That's right, the black and white beer is already served at St James's Park. It's made out to say that it'll be served from now. Pretty sure you can buy Guinness at St James's Park from now, but an agreement with fans will be able to enjoy a Guinness or Guinness Zero, which I don't think you can buy, at St James's Park. Partnership launched recently at a fan event in South Korea where over 250 fans joined. So, yes, happy days. Newcastle have tried to bring in a little bit of sponsorship money. As I mentioned, Guinness is a global brand. It's a global reach for Newcastle United. It's a black and white beer, so there's plenty of kind of spins you can put on that one, and it's a few quid in the coffer. Now, I have to say that as much as it's great to see Peter Silverstone is trying to make a little bit of money for himself again, you know, it felt like the minute he got in, it was Saudi Air, it was loads of stuff going on, which has gone severely quiet. It's nice to hear that things are happening in again on the sponsorship front, bringing revenue in from sponsorships, advertisements. Undoubtedly, there will be Guinness. Well, yeah, they've got to be careful with that, don't they? Because these days you're not really meant to have beer sponsors around the ground. I know you can't have it on your shirt. So, yes, good news. Big question mark, however. Where is the rest of them? I was just having a conversation literally while I've been out today about Newcastle United, about the increased ticket prices, the not allowing new season ticket holders in, having to charge more for Champions League tickets. You know, surely the real way to do it is to go and get, you know, and this is just me talking off the cuff here, so don't take it too seriously, but Saudi Air St James's Park Stadium, Saudi Air training ground sponsor, like, I like it. Guinness, great start, big tick in the box, but undoubtedly there is far more we can be doing. And when we are constantly being hammered by PSR, more can definitely be done there. However, this summer, it would seem that PSR is not biting at us as it has done previously, and Newcastle are getting ever closer to bringing a new player in. That's right, Malik Chow joined earlier this week, which I think is a great move. I have to say, and I don't know if I'm gonna sound daft with this one, but I'm gonna put it out there anyway. We have been hammered this summer window for players not wanting to join Newcastle United. Alexander Isak not wanting to be at Newcastle United. And seeing that picture of Malik Chow with he looks like a 12-year-old boy wearing his dad's suit, holding up his new Newcastle United top with a big smile. I'm like, oh, get in, Malik. Welcome to Newcastle. Like, it does get you excited. You know, transfer windows have become big business. Like, I'm spitting all over today. Sorry about that. It's undeniable that transfer windows have become big business. Like, arguably some of which is bigger than the the actual games themselves. You know, like the reports, the rumours, the conversation. You know, Sky Sports have built a whole brand out of it. You know, the yellow, the gold, the yellow ties, like it's massive. And when a lot of the noise day to day, waking up, going to bed, as Isak doesn't want to be here, Newcastle have had another failed bid. Like it can be quite hard to take at times. So to see Malik Chow come in there and smiling away, talking about the fact that, you know, he's been in talks or has had talks with Newcastle for years. You know, we were linked with him years ago. To see that one go over the line and see some of the interviews he's come on. Let's be honest, he may not give. Might not give a crap about it. He might just be saying what his agent told him to say. You know, I'm not that naive, but the fact that he's come out and smiled about it, I absolutely love. But as I mentioned, Newcastle has stepped further forward to bring another player in the reported £40 million Jacob Ramsey. So the reports have kind of gone backwards and forwards on this one a little bit. Initially, the reports were that Newcastle had agreed a deal with the player. I believe that still stands, but it was about the fee to be paid for him to Aston Villa. The reports are that the fee is 40 million, 30 million plus add-ons. As I've mentioned, that is a little bit higher than maybe I'd first expected, but 30 million for a Premier League player, you know, we sold Longstaff for 12. You know, fair enough, Longstaff had 1 year left on his deal. Ramsey's got 2. But I think Newcastle are also in a position at this point in the window where, you know, we need to get going. And I think he is an upgrade on Longstaff. I think he suits the style of player that Newcastle have. And for a player who, you know, has been a little bit out of the scene the last couple of seasons for Aston Villa, has a chance to come in and work under who else but Eddie Howe. Who else is going to get their career rocking and rolling like an Eddie Howe and a Jason Tindall partnership? So fingers crossed this one can go through. Reports were that they were hoping to have the deal done in time for the game this weekend. I think it's going to be tough for that now. But essentially his journey to Tyneside is imminent. We're just waiting for the button to be pressed and for him to come up and do his medical, which, you know, is exciting. Bearing in mind, we spent, you know, 2.5 months signing no one. To sign a Malik Chow and a Ramsey in the space of a week would be pretty good news. But undoubtedly, the position still in question is striker. Someone who had been insanely linked to us, you know, was Nicholas Jackson from Chelsea, which I don't think necessarily got the reception that maybe he or Chelsea or Newcastle had hoped for from the fans. But reports coming out today from the Daily Mail that he's essentially a player who, despite being linked and despite some positive reports on a move, have been put down by Newcastle the last few days. So yeah, I think ultimately if you're selling Alexander Isak or you're moving Alexander Isak on or you're putting him in the reserves, never to be seen again, at the end of the day, whatever happens to him, if he isn't to play for Newcastle, and I was reading this today, I think it was the Geordie Journey who said it, unless you're going by Haaland or Mbappe, you're really going to struggle to ever have a higher grade replacement than an Alexander Isak. I think the thing is, when you're looking at an Ekitike, you're looking at a Sesko, I think what you're looking at is players who've played abroad, have showed that they are very capable abroad. Now you need to bring them over and put that into Newcastle United and put it into the Premier League. The difference with Jackson is he really hasn't hit the heights for Chelsea. So because of that, we've got to, because that's the thing with Sesko, really, even when we signed Alexander Isak, you know, he scored, was it 6 or 8 goals for Real Sociedad? He didn't really hit the highlight. We brought him in, then made him do that. You know, Sesko, you could argue, didn't score loads over in Germany either. He did a good job, but you're trying to translate that into growing, still 21 years old, can improve. The thing with Jackson is you've got a direct comparison. You saw how he did at Chelsea, and he missed a lot of chances, and he probably didn't hit the heights at Chelsea that you wanted. So it's not like he's at a foreign team who you can bring in and mould and make better. And I think we could still do that, but it's like it's like he didn't, or he already hasn't really hit the heights in the Premier League. Now you want us to pay 80 million for him. And I think that's probably the thing. If you gave me Jackson for 40 million Wizza for 40 million. I think the pair of them, despite the fact that both of them would go and play at the African Cup of Nations and would have no striker for the 2 months of the end of this year, which is obviously a problem in itself, and that you could put that down to the problem. The reports are that Wizza's the man and Wizza's getting close. So if you're going to sign Wizza, then it seems silly to then also go out and buy Jackson, who also won't be available for 2 months of the season. So that could be as bigger problem as it is anything else. But you know, you're looking further down the list of the players linked to Newcastle United, and I just think at this moment in time, being able to bring in, you know, like as I say, a direct replacement for Isak is just always going to be a struggle. The reason I'm looking over here is, you know, Wizza, Watkins, Jackson, Samu. Those are the 4 players being touted by the Mark Douglas and the iSport this morning. Jackson's name now crossed off. I think for me, Watkins and Wizza, those are the 2. I think the pair of them would arguably score more goals than Jackson and Wilson did last year. So neither player's better than Isak, but the pair of them is better than the duo that we had previously. Now, let's get it right. Isak carried that partnership previously. But if we give Watkins the penalties, I think the pair of them could easily outscore. It could easily get 12, 13, 14, 15 each. And that's 30 goals. That's more than Isak's 20, 24, 25, 26. So I like it. But the trouble is you're paying a lot of money for a 28-year-old and a 29-year-old. So then you're like, right, Wizza will stick with for 30, 40 million. Let's go and find a young striker. The list of young strikers has gone, it's dissolved. It doesn't exist anymore. We need a new list. You look at Samu from over in the Portuguese league, who scored loads of goals, but he's so raw and has a release clause of 80 million. Like, that's a big money outlay on a player in a league who, let's be honest, Darwin Núñez scored loads of goals and now he's getting sold to Saudi for 40 million. So, I mean, at this moment in time, anything can change. If Liverpool actually placed a £150 million bid, maybe Newcastle just say, you know what, screw it. Sell him, pay 50 million for Wizza, because we just need him before the season starts, and then maybe we'll run the risk with the Gordon and the Wizza. But I think Gordon will start up front. I'll probably be on tomorrow to do a preview for the game at the weekend. So if you're not subscribed, hit the button. But let me know your thoughts on Newcastle bringing in. Guinness is a new sponsor. Jacob Ramsey being close. And are you disappointed that Jackson isn't going to be in the running to join Newcastle? Or if you're happy about that, drop a like. That's how I get you in this one. Because I don't think too many people were backing Jackson. I think under Eddie Howe, I reckon you could have made something of him. I think he probably would have been all right. But for the money that they're talking, 60, 70, 80 million, you know, I think that's Chelsea trying to have our eyes out for that one. I think get Wizza in, and look, for me, I think it looks like Isak's going to be here. 17 days to go. I really struggle with seeing how we get enough over the line to make that happen, unless we'll suddenly pull a cat out of a bag and find a winning formula. Pay the money for Watkins, screw it. 50 million for Watkins. We'll have a fantastic season. We'll worry about it in a few years' time. But Newcastle, who are plagued with PSR issues, spending, you know, a combined 100 million on 2 players that'll be worth nothing in a few years. You know, if we were the Saudi owners who could spend up what the hell they wanted, then great, do it. Bring in 2 players who will, you know, fight for top 4 for us this season. Doesn't matter about PSR. Doesn't matter about money. Doesn't matter if they leave for nothing, because who the hell cares? But we'll have to care because of PSR. That's why it's such a sham. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Thoughts and comments on that video. Thoughts and comments on Jackson not being the man for Newcastle, but still desperate to replace Isak. Is Ramsey the man for you? If you've enjoyed the video, just drop a like. Subscribe for the preview and the videos coming over the weekend for the game. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.